In the year 2045, Earth had become a beacon of technological advancement and cultural richness. Humanity had reached out to the stars, driven by curiosity and an insatiable desire to explore. Little did they know that their quest for knowledge would soon lead them to an encounter that would change everything. The signal. It began with a signal, a series of rhythmic pulses emanating from deep space. Scientists at the Global Space Agency, GSA, worked tirelessly to decode it, their excitement palpable as they realized they were not alone in the universe. Dr. Amelia Chen, a brilliant astrophysicist, led the team that uncovered the message's meaning, an invitation for dialogue from an alien species known as the Zorathians. Prepare for first contact, Amelia announced during a press conference that captivated millions around the globe. This is our chance to learn from another civilization. Her words sparked hope and anxiety in equal measure. Humanity was about to face an unknown future. Diplomatic preparations. As days turned into weeks, world leaders convened at an emergency summit in Geneva. Captain Jane Harper, a decorated officer in Earth's Space Force, was appointed as Earth's ambassador for this historic meeting. With her sharp wit and tactical mind, she was determined to represent humanity's best interests. Let's not forget, Jane said during her briefing with military advisors, we're not just meeting potential allies. We could be facing conquerors. Her words hung heavy in the air as they prepared for what lay ahead. The meeting. The day of first contact arrived with great fanfare. A massive spacecraft descended through Earth's atmosphere, its sleek design shimmering under the sun. As it landed gracefully in a designated area surrounded by security personnel and media crews, Jane felt a mix of anticipation and dread. The hatch opened slowly, revealing Glogdor, the Zorathian diplomat, towering over 6 feet tall with tentacles writhing gracefully around him. He exuded an aura of otherworldliness. His multiple eye stalks scanned the crowd before settling on Jane. Greetings, Earthlings. Glogdor began with a voice that resonated like thunder yet held an oddly melodic quality. I come bearing an offer. The offer. Jane exchanged glances with her second-in-command, Lieutenant Mark Reynolds, who raised an eyebrow in disbelief. What kind of offer? She asked cautiously. Eternal peace, Glogdor proclaimed enthusiastically, in exchange for your servitude. A murmur rippled through the crowd as Jane struggled to mask her incredulity. You mean slavery? Precisely. Glogdor replied without hesitation. Imagine a life free from conflict, under our guidance. Jane's heart raced as she fought back laughter mixed with anger. You expect us to accept this generous offer? Yes, it is beneficial for both parties, Glogdor insisted, his tentacles waving animatedly as if trying to illustrate his point. Rejection. Let me clarify, Jane said firmly, leaning forward as she locked eyes with Glogdor. We humans have a history of opposing slavery, violently. The alien diplomat's eye stalks drooped slightly in confusion. But eternal peace. Eternal peace on a planet we no longer control. Jane countered sharply. You might want to reconsider your sales pitch. The atmosphere grew tense as Glogdor floundered for words. No species has ever rejected our offer before, he stammered. Well, Mark chimed in with a smirk. Maybe you should update your approach. A daring counteroffer. As Glogdor shuffled uncomfortably, Jane seized the moment to propose an alternative. How about you turn that fancy spaceship around and head back home? That would be our version of eternal peace. The alien diplomat deflated visibly at her words. I suppose we will take our leave then. His tentacles drooped as he turned away, defeated. Next time you want to negotiate, Jane called after him with a hint of sarcasm, bring fruit instead of chains. As Glogdor exited the stage amidst murmurs of disbelief from onlookers, Jane turned to Mark with a sigh of relief, mixed with disbelief at what had just transpired. That was something else, she said incredulously. Mark chuckled softly. You handled it beautifully. I think you might have hurt his feelings. Well, Jane replied with a grin. Hurt feelings are better than enslaved planets. Aftermath. As they made their way back to headquarters to report on this bizarre encounter, Jane couldn't help but reflect on how far humanity had come, only to face such absurdity from beings claiming superiority. I joined Space Force expecting dogfights or diplomatic negotiations, she mused aloud. But turning down slavery, that definitely wasn't in the brochure. Mark laughed heartily as they entered their command center filled with screens displaying live feeds from around the world buzzing with reactions to their encounter. Just wait until we file our report. Alien encounter terminated due to unacceptable benefits package, he joked. Jane shook her head but couldn't suppress her smile. Little did they know that this was only the beginning of humanity's fight against an impending invasion, a fight that would test their resolve and ingenuity like never before. This sets up an engaging narrative filled with tension and humor while laying the groundwork for future conflicts and alliances in subsequent parts of humanity's last stand. Defeating the alien invaders. The aftermath of rejection. In the wake of Captain Jane Harper's audacious rejection of the Zorethian offer, the world held its breath. News outlets buzzed with headlines like Earth declines alien slavery and humanity stands firm against cosmic chains. Social media exploded with memes, debates, and discussions about the implications of first contact. While some celebrated the bold stance taken by their leaders, others questioned whether humanity had just made a grave mistake. In the Global Space Agency headquarters, Amelia Chen reviewed data from the encounter. We need to prepare for retaliation, she said, her voice steady yet urgent. The Zorethians won't take this lightly. The atmosphere in the room was tense. Scientists and military personnel exchanged worried glances, gathering forces. Meanwhile, world leaders convened once more, this time to discuss defense strategies. The United Nations called for an emergency session, gathering representatives from every nation. Jane was invited to share her experience firsthand. As she stood before the assembly, Jane felt a mix of pride and responsibility. We've shown that we won't be subjugated, she began, but we must also recognize that our refusal may provoke them. The room fell silent as her words sank in. Are we prepared for an invasion? A delegate from Brazil asked, his brow furrowed with concern. We must unite, Jane replied firmly. This is not just about one country, it's about all of humanity. A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. Forming alliances. The urgency of the situation led to unprecedented cooperation among nations. Military forces began to consolidate their resources, sharing technology and intelligence in ways never seen before. The Space Force joined forces with various global military branches to create a unified command center dedicated to defending Earth. Amelia took charge of technological advancements, working alongside engineers from around the world. We need weapons that can match their technology, she insisted. If they come here with advanced weaponry, we have to be ready. In a secret lab deep within a mountain, scientists worked day and night to develop new defensive systems. They designed energy shields capable of repelling blasts and drones equipped with advanced targeting systems. Every innovation was fueled by desperation and determination. Training for combat. As preparations intensified, training exercises became commonplace. Recruits from various countries gathered at military bases across the globe. Captain Jane Harper found herself leading drills that simulated alien attacks. Her experience in combat and diplomacy made her an invaluable asset. Stay sharp, she shouted during one exercise as soldiers practiced maneuvering under simulated fire. Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for our families, our homes. The soldiers responded with cheers, their spirits lifted by her words. Jane understood that morale was just as crucial as technology in this fight. A call to arms. As weeks passed, the world began to mobilize on an unprecedented scale. Citizens took to the streets in support of their armed forces, waving flags and chanting slogans like "United we stand" and "Humanity first." The sense of camaraderie was palpable. People from different backgrounds came together for a common cause. In cities worldwide, makeshift recruitment centers opened up as civilians volunteered for service. Many were driven by a desire to protect their loved ones, or simply by a sense of duty to humanity itself. Jane watched this unfold with mixed emotions, pride in humanity's resilience, but also fear of what lay ahead. She knew that an invasion was imminent. They had little time left to prepare. Unexpected allies. One evening, while reviewing reports at headquarters, Amelia received an unexpected communication. A distress signal from a nearby space station. It was a Zorathian ship, damaged and adrift in space. Against her better judgment but driven by curiosity and compassion, she decided to send a rescue team. "Are you sure this is wise?" Mark asked as they prepped for departure. "If there's any chance we can learn something valuable, or even find an ally among them, it's worth it," Amelia replied resolutely. As they approached the drifting Zorathian vessel, tension filled the air. Would this be a trap? But Amelia believed in taking risks when lives were at stake. Boarding the ship, the team boarded the alien ship cautiously, weapons drawn but ready to help if needed. Inside, they found Zorathian crew members who were frightened and injured but alive. One Zorathian named Krieg managed to communicate through broken translations. "Help. Enemies. Attack," he gasped, pointing toward escape pods that had been damaged during an attack from another alien faction known as the Taltraxians. Amelia's heart raced at the implications. If Krieg's people were being attacked by another species, perhaps they could form an alliance against a common enemy. A new proposition. "Why should we trust you?" Mark asked skeptically as Krieg struggled to stand upright. "Not all Zorathians wish for war," Krieg replied weakly but earnestly. "Some want peace. Freedom." His tentacles trembled as he spoke. It was clear he was risking everything by reaching out. Amelia exchanged glances with Mark before speaking again. "What if we help you? In return, you provide us with information about your technology and your enemies." Krieg's eye stalks widened with hope as he nodded slowly. "Yes, yes, we can help each other." Building trust. With Krieg on board as their guide and ally, Amelia and Mark returned to Earth with newfound hope. They presented their findings to Jane and other world leaders. "This could change everything," Amelia said passionately during the briefing session. "If we can unite against both the Zorathians' enemies and learn from them technologically." Jane nodded thoughtfully but remained cautious. "Trust must be built slowly. We cannot afford any mistakes." Over time, Krieg shared insights into Zorathian technology, how their ships operated and how their weaponry functioned. The knowledge gained was invaluable. Humanity began adapting some of these technologies into their own systems, preparing for battle. As tensions mounted in space between factions vying for control over Earth's fate, preparations continued on both sides. The Zorathians prepared for possible retaliation against their enemies while humanity fortified its defenses against all threats. With Krieg's help, Earth developed new strategies that combined human ingenuity with alien technology, an alliance born out of necessity rather than trust, but one that held promise nonetheless. As days turned into weeks leading up to what everyone feared would be an all-out war between species, Jane stood on the bridge of her flagship, a symbol of human resilience, and looked out at the stars beyond. "Whatever happens next," she said quietly to herself, "we'll face it together." The stage was set for an epic confrontation, a battle not just for survival, but also for understanding what it truly meant to coexist in a universe filled with both danger and possibility. Tensions rise. As the days turned into weeks, the atmosphere on Earth grew increasingly charged. The Zorathians, once viewed as potential allies, were now seen through a lens of suspicion. Krieg, the Zorathian defector, had provided valuable information about the Taltraxians, an aggressive alien race that posed a significant threat not only to Earth but also to his own people. The alliance between humans and Zorathians was fragile, held together by necessity rather than trust. Captain Jane Harper stood on the command deck of the Earth Defense Fleet's flagship, The Elysium. She gazed at the holographic display showing the latest intelligence reports. "We need to prepare for a possible attack," she said, her voice steady, but laced with urgency. "The Daltraxians won't hesitate to strike if they think we're vulnerable." Amelia Chen, now a key strategist in the command center, nodded in agreement. "Kree has informed us that their ships are fast and heavily armed. We need to develop a strategy that takes advantage of our strengths." Training exercises. To bolster their defenses, Jane ordered intensive training exercises for all personnel. Soldiers from various nations came together to practice combat scenarios that simulated an alien invasion. The drills were grueling but necessary. Every soldier knew that their lives, and the fate of humanity, depended on their readiness. During one exercise, Jane observed as troops engaged in mock battles using advanced weaponry based on Zorathian technology. The soldiers worked together seamlessly, demonstrating an impressive level of coordination. "Keep moving. Don't let them flank you," Jane shouted as she watched them navigate an obstacle course designed to mimic urban environments. The soldiers responded with determination, pushing themselves to their limits. A glimpse of hope. Meanwhile, Krieg continued to share insights about Zorathian technology and tactics. His presence was both a blessing and a challenge. While he provided crucial information, his alien nature often sparked distrust among some human soldiers. "Why should we trust him?" one soldier muttered during a break in training. "He's still one of them." Jane overheard the comment and decided it was time to address the troops directly. Standing before them in the training yard, she raised her voice to capture their attention. "I know many of you have doubts about our Zorathian ally," she began. "But remember this, Kree has risked everything to help us. He chose our side when he could have easily returned to his own people." The soldiers listened intently as Jane continued. "In this fight, we must unite against a common enemy. Our survival depends on collaboration between humans and Zorathians alike." The calm before the storm. As preparations continued, a sense of unease settled over the fleet. Days turned into nights filled with anxious anticipation. Everyone felt that an attack was imminent. Krieg's warnings echoed in Jane's mind as she lay awake in her quarters. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship, shattering the stillness of night. "Battle stations, all hands to your posts," Jane shouted as she sprang from her bed and raced toward the command deck. "The attack begins." The crew moved swiftly into action as they prepared for combat. Holographic displays flickered to life, revealing incoming Daltraxian ships descending upon Earth like a swarm of locusts. Their sleek vessels glinted ominously against the backdrop of space. "Captain, we have multiple contacts approaching fast," Amelia reported from her station. "Divert all power to shields," Jane commanded, her heart racing as adrenaline surged through her veins. As the Daltraxians closed in, Jane felt a mixture of fear and determination wash over her. This was it, the moment they had been preparing for. Engaging the enemy. With a deafening roar, the Daltraxian ships unleashed a barrage of energy blasts aimed at Earth's defenses. The Elysium shuddered under the impact as shields flared brightly against incoming fire. "Return fire. Target their lead ship," Jane ordered, gripping the edge of her command console as explosions rocked the vessel. The crew responded swiftly. Laser cannons fired back at their attackers with precision. Explosions lit up space as enemy ships were struck down one by one. "Captain, we're taking heavy damage," Amelia shouted over the din of battle alarms. "Divert auxiliary power to forward shields. We can't let them breach our defenses." Jane barked back, her focus unwavering despite the chaos around her. A desperate maneuver. As more Daltraxian ships joined the fray, it became clear that they were outnumbered. Jane knew they had to make a bold move if they wanted any chance of survival. "Krieg," she called out urgently, "is there any way we can use your technology against them?" Krieg stepped forward from where he had been monitoring communications with his fellow Zorathians. "Yes, we can overload their systems If we can get close enough, then let's do it. Prepare for a boarding maneuver, Jane commanded. With Krieg's guidance, they plotted a course toward one of the larger Saltraxian ships, a risky but potentially game-changing move. Boarding action. As they approached the enemy vessel, Jane led an elite team onto their ship via boarding pods equipped with advanced Zorathian tech. They breached enemy lines amidst chaos and confusion. "Stay sharp," Jane ordered as they landed inside the Saltraxian ship's hangar bay. Alarms blared loudly around them, while enemy troops scrambled in disarray. The humans fought fiercely alongside Krieg and other Zorathian soldiers who had joined them in this desperate attempt to turn the tide of battle. They moved through corridors filled with alien architecture that felt both foreign and intimidating. Turning point. After fierce firefights and close calls, they reached the control room where they could initiate an overload sequence on enemy systems. Krieg quickly began inputting commands into their consoles, while Jane and her team held off waves of Saltraxian defenders. "We don't have much time," Krieg shouted over explosions echoing around them. "Just hurry up," Jane urged him while firing at approaching enemies with fierce determination. Finally, Krieg pressed a final button and stepped back triumphantly as alarms blared louder than ever before throughout the ship. "It's done. We need to get out now." Escape. With seconds to spare before catastrophic failure struck their enemy's ship, Jane led her team back toward their boarding pods amid explosions rocking every corner of the vessel. They barely made it back just as energy blasts erupted behind them, sending shockwaves through space as Saltraxian ships began to implode one after another. As they returned safely aboard Elysium, cheers erupted among crew members witnessing firsthand how unity could bring victory even against overwhelming odds. A hard-won victory. Though battered and bruised from battle fatigue, both physically and mentally, the crew celebrated their hard-won victory over adversity together under starlit skies outside Earth's atmosphere. Jane stood on deck, gazing out into infinity beyond. Hope surged within her heart, knowing humanity had faced its first true test and emerged stronger than ever before despite all odds stacked against them. But deep down inside lingered questions unanswered. What would happen next? Would this alliance hold? And most importantly, was this just beginning? With renewed determination igniting within every soldier present aboard Elysium, one thing remained clear: humanity would not go down without a fight. They would rise again, ready for whatever challenges lay ahead, together united against any foe threatening their existence. Thus began an epic saga where ingenuity met resilience, a story worth telling across galaxies yet untold.